led in prayer by the chaplain to be followed by the Pledge of Allegiance.
The psalmist reminds us this morning that the king is not saved by a mighty army, a warrior is not delivered by great strength, a horse is a false hope for victory. Let us pray. O Lord, you are our omnipotent Father. You and you alone provide deliverance. By your divine providence, you orchestrate all the affairs of men so that you receive all the praise and glory. No king, no army, no equipment or strength can deliver and grant success. However, your strength, your right hand, your arm, and the light of your presence favors us this day to grant success to the task before us. Thank you, for the Lord your God goes with you to fight for you, to give you the victory. Many good things seek our attention this day, but help us to seek what is best for this house as we strive to represent those entrusted to our care. Lord, we govern under your stewardship and accountable to you. Therefore, may we be steadfast, immovable, always abounding in the work of the Lord, knowing that in the Lord your labor is not in vain. Grant favor as we look to you, the Most High God, who rules over the realm of mankind. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We're in the roll call period. All members, please record your presence. We're in the roll call period.
Welcome to State House Today for Thursday, April 30th, 2026. I'm Gavin Jackson in the State House chamber with Maayan Schechter, State House lobby, maybe this chamber soon, with Maayan Schechter and Senate Majority Leader Shane Massey, our little special guest today. You were in the lobby. We love grabbing people who are in the lobby. We've done it to the speaker before too, so we got you today. We have plenty to talk about. That was in the State House gavel today, but Majority Leader Massey, tell us what's going on in the Senate right now. We have about 6 more working days after today to tackle. I think it's a 55-page calendar that you guys have.
It's pretty massive. It's always backlogged at the end.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where we are right now. We're trying to work through things. Like you said, 6 days left after today. A lot of work still to do, but you know how things work around here. I mean, we can perform miracles in just a few days. So we have some long days ahead of us, but we'll get the work done.
And there's concern about not having a sine die agreement yet in place to get some work done after May 14th, when a lot of times there's conference committee reports to hash through. What's your concern about that? How do you address that, especially with 6 more days like that?
Yeah, I mean, look, I would always like to have a sine die agreement because it would allow us to come back later on. But I'll tell you also, I'm not real excited about having to come back in the summer. So I think if we can get our work done before then that's a great thing to do. But it is going to require, especially with conference committees, those types of things. There's a lot to do in 6 days. You still like to have a sine die in place, which gives the speaker and the president the ability to call us back if something happens. But we'll just have to get our work done just in case.
You talked about the number of things that y'all have to get done. What are some of the big ticket items that you see as top priority for the chamber?
Yeah, so, most of the big things that we had identified at the beginning of session that we wanted to accomplish, we've gotten out of the Senate. There's been one issue dealing with regulatory reform that we still got to get done. But otherwise, the big issues that we wanted to tackle have gotten out. Most of those things have not yet gone to the governor's desk, so we're still working with the House to try to get some movement on those. But as Gavin mentioned, we've got a massive calendar right now. When I was counting on Tuesday morning, I was looking at like 75 bills that were going to be up on the uncontested side for this week. And as you know, last night we were in session until after 8 o'clock, which is not normal for us. So we've got a lot to do, still got a lot more to get through. And I think really what we need to do is kind of keep working our way systematically through the calendar, try to knock those things out.
One of the top priorities that y'all did at the beginning of the year was the DUI reform bill sponsored by Senator Tom Davis. That has now made its way to the House floor, but we expect a pretty lengthy debate over that legislation. What have the conversations been like as far as what that bill will actually become law this year?
Yeah, well, first off, I would say that would probably be the number one priority. We really have to strengthen the DUI laws. We've had some behind-the-scenes conversations with the House. I mean, I know they've got some challenges over there, but it's nothing that's unexpected. I mean, we expected that the defense attorneys were going to rise up at some point. So that's what they're dealing with. But I mean, they'll work their way through that. It'll be something different than what we passed. We'll go to a conference committee and we'll work it out. But again, what I've impressed upon House leadership is please don't send this the last week, because if May 14th is our deadline date, that one's probably going to take a few days to kind of work through some of those issues. So hopefully they can get that up for debate today. Maybe they can get it passed early next week. Then that'll give us time to work through some of those issues. But that is a top priority. We need to deal with DUI.
And the House passed S831 yesterday, the SCDOT modernization bill, 114-0. There was a compromise amendment to get rid of those EV fee increases, the road buyback program for the counties, and also eliminating the SCDOT commission, making that a cabinet position for the secretary. How do you see the Senate reacting to those changes? It is a Senate bill. Do you think it's just going to go to conference committee? I mean, can you guys agree about getting rid of the DOT commission?
I suspect that one's going to go to conference committee too. I haven't had a whole lot of conversations with them about that. I've read about what they did. And we're going to have to look closely at what the changes were. I mean, there are some changes in their version and ours, from what I understand. And I need to talk with some of the senators who are more involved in that early on. But I really haven't been involved I don't know if there've been a whole lot of conversations between the House and the Senate on that up until this point. So we'll get there, but that's a big issue. I mean, look, the number one issue that I hear about consistently is roads and bridges. So there's a lot of concern around South Carolina about the condition of our roads and bridges and filling potholes and even expanding capacity in some places. That's a big issue with the growth that we've been experiencing. So making sure that we've got a good agency there and there's accountability and they're doing what they need to do is important. We got to figure out how to get that done.
And speaking also of non-concurring and sending something to conference, yesterday y'all non-concurred on the consumable hemp THC drink bill. That will go to a conference committee. Obviously, the House made some significant changes, kind of unwound exactly what the Senate did. How confident are you feeling that there may actually be some regulatory measures passed this year?
I mean, I still feel pretty good about that. This is a tough issue. It's a tough issue, as you've seen play out in the debates in the House and in the Senate, that there's there's a sizable group who thinks that this didn't go far, that we didn't go far enough. There's a sizable group who think that we went too far. But neither one of those groups has a majority. So it was very difficult to try to get a coalition together to come up with a regulatory scheme. That's how we came up with what we did. It certainly was not perfect. And they had some similar problems that play out in the House debate where the representatives are just we're in different positions. So you got to try to figure out how to do it. But the one thing that unites everybody, I think, is that they don't like the current system. That they don't want to just leave it open-ended for everybody. They don't like 14-year-olds being able to buy THC drinks in Circle K. And so there's a lot of regulation that needs to happen if we're going to allow it. The votes aren't there to ban it. So I think we need to regulate it. And my hope is that a conference committee will begin meeting even as early as next week to try to work through some of those things so we can get something worked out.
And then, Senator, we saw the U.S. Supreme Court on that ruling dealing with the maps in Louisiana, congressional district maps. It's a 6-3 ruling. We've obviously been to the Supreme Court, too, for our maps in the state. But, of course, this has renewed calls for people wanting to redistrict mid-cycle redistricting. Obviously, the primary is 40 days away. What are your thoughts on these calls to redistrict South Carolina?
Yeah, it's gotten even more intense after Virginia's election last week as well. I will say, my position on this hasn't changed, and that is I think we need to be careful about this because in an effort to go to 7-0, we very well could go to 5-2. Because the population in South Carolina, the breakdowns are not what a lot of people would expect it to be about how easy it is just to draw 7 congressional districts. That's not easy at all. In fact, I think you risk losing a Republican if you try to get too cute with it. The other thing I would say in response to the Supreme Court decision yesterday is South Carolina, to my knowledge, is the only state in the country that has gone to the U.S. Supreme Court, and the U.S. Supreme Court said our maps are not based on race, that they were based on partisanship. And so the issue that they struggled with Louisiana is different than the issue here, where they said that Louisiana's map was based on race. They said emphatically that ours was not. So we're in a different scenario there too. I think there's a lot of other nuances to this debate, and we need to realize those, but also be careful about what the consequences are.
Well, especially when you consider the fact that after the 2030 census, we're probably going to add a congressional district too. So even if you were to redistrict, the next couple of years, I mean, would it be all for naught essentially too? Because you're going to have to pretty much restart that process in 2032.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at changing the maps for 2028, you probably also going to have to change them for the next cycle thereafter. And that's a lot of work that goes into that. And there's a lot of litigation that's going to ensue because of it. Mm-hmm. In fact, if you do it in 28, that litigation is probably not going to be done before you have to redraw again.
Yeah.
So I think being confusing to voters is an issue too. You want people to know which congressional district they're in. Let them know which state Senate district or state House district they're in. That's important that people know who they're voting for, who their candidates are, and that there's not any more confusion than there needs to be. Mm-hmm. But there's a lot of nuance in this, and I think we need to be careful about what we do there, that we don't make things worse. I mean, I understand there are a lot of folks, especially on the right, who want to try to be more aggressive, especially in response to Virginia. I would caution us to be very careful about that because we're at 6-1. It would be much easier to be 5-2 than it would be to 7-0. And I think that's just the reality.
I want to quickly ask about a bill that's personal to you, and that's S922, which deals with those gubernatorial appointments. Also would remove interim Department of Public Health Director Ed Simmer. I saw that was moving through a committee today. Have you gotten any assurances that will actually make its way to the floor before session ends?
No, I mean, I've encouraged them to move on that legislation. I do think it's important. I mean, the entire Senate thought it was important. It's a good government structural issue to ensure that there is oversight, that there are checks and balances in place. So I'm hopeful they'll move it. I'm glad to see that they're getting some committee work on it.
Do you feel like, given the fact that DPH has now officially declared the measles outbreak to be over, that maybe now there is perhaps even more motivation to go ahead with making sure that Dr. Simmer is removed now, that there's not some lingering overhanging going on?
I don't think the measles outbreak has any effect on that part of it. I think it's important that the department have leadership, but I think it's important that the department have leadership that the public trusts. And I think that's the issue that we're dealing with right now. And that's the reason that the Senate decided to include that automatic removal provision.
And before we let you go, 55 pages, what are you going to be focusing on today besides working through the calendar? Anything that we can look forward to? And will it be a long day if you're going to be going through that calendar like it was yesterday?
Yeah, I think we're really just going to be systematically moving through the calendar to this point. Next week, we may have to jump around with some priority issues, but from my perspective, a lot of this week was to try to work through the calendar that it was there, and then also identify those issues that are going to be contested and not contested, really. And we're getting a little bit of a better picture on that, but so I think you're going to see more of that next week. But I'm hopeful that today we'll just continue to work through the calendar and try to clean it out a little bit.
Anything you expect to go on the special order calendar in the next week?
I'd like to get through today first, and let me see how things are as far as what's contested and what's not. But I do expect that we'll be making some decisions on that for next week. I suspect you're going to see a few things that move in priority slots next week that we're just going to have to do in order to get them up.
You've consistently described the last few weeks in one word as chaos. Are we still holding true to that word description?
I think it's already begun. It may have begun a little bit earlier than normal, but the last few weeks of a session are always chaotic. That's especially the case when it's the end of the 2-year session. And I think that's going to be even more the case if we don't have a sine die resolution. If all the work has to be done by May 14th, it's going to make it even more intense. Tensions are going to rise. People are going to start yelling. They're going to get upset because they know the deadline's there. So I think we have to understand that. We've got to be a little bit more patient, but try to get the work done in as quick a manner as possible.
Well, which makes it hard to put a controversial bill into special order.
It makes it more difficult, you're right. And then it also limits the amount of time that you can have for debate, which is not traditionally something that the Senate does. The Senate has historically allowed people to have their say. When you get into the last week, 2 weeks, that's going to have to get curtailed to some extent in order to get things moving along.
All right. Thank you, Senator. Appreciate it.
Thanks,
Yeah,
guys.
thank you so much.
Thanks.
That was Senate Majority Leader Shane Massey, Republican from Edgefield, being gracious enough to give us some of his time on these very busy final days of session. Of course, the Senate will come in at 11 o'clock, and the House is already in right now, too. I think he did all the heavy lifting for us today, Maya.
Certainly did. Certainly
No doubt.
did.
Some interesting news. I mean, again, talking about, like he mentioned there at the end when you asked him about special order, getting those debate priority statuses for some bills. I guess we're going to be watching to see, what could happen. I know a lot of people were concerned about abortion and that possibly being a thing, but I just asked him again about controversial bills, and that would just really suck up all the air. Not that we wanted to get him on the spot about abortion, because he's told us consistently that that's really not going to go anywhere, S1095. But I'm sure there'll be some other bills that he sees, that the caucus sees as a priority, that they're going to want to get through.
Right, absolutely. And again, we talked to House Ways and Means Chairman Bruce Bannister yesterday, particularly about those top issues, but sine die agreement, right? And he said that there is not an agreement really right now about what exactly to have in the sine die agreement. Of course, the Senate passed it already, and it's what they call a clean sine die. So it's the gubernatorial vetoes, the budget, conference committees, appointments, things that are, traditionally pretty normal every single year. Again, when if the House does decide to take it up, there is always the risk, especially this late into the session, that people start kind of Christmas tree ornament putting, on. And, very well, we could see things raised like abortion. We could see redistricting. We could see closed primaries. You just have no idea. So definitely, I think as he describes chaos, I mean, that is very much, I think we're all feeling it right now.
Yeah. I know, I think I left you yesterday around like 6 in the Senate, and then to go that later, I mean, still a lot going on up here. Because again, we were talking about that roads bill that passed in the House, S831, which they changed like we were talking about. And we were expecting, we told you yesterday that we were like, is it going to be a wacky, is it going to be a wild, is it going to be a winding Wednesday? It wasn't in the House because they introduced a compromise amendment early on. House Ways and Means Chair Bruce Bannister did a compromise amendment that really stripped out some of those controversial things that people were having some grief with, some miscommunication around, including EV fees and that county road incentive buyback program, things like that, and also changing up the commission. Those all got eliminated, so there was about 185 amendments floating on that bill, and that was the second amendment that got, was debated, adopted, and that really kind of limited everyone else's concerns, and all those 180 amendments were pulled down after a couple hours of debate. Interesting debate, but again, at the same time, it was kind of a moot debate because of that change made early on in the debate. So That's going to go back over to the Senate, like you're saying. And it's going to definitely be in a conference committee. I know they're alluding to it because nothing's ever that easy.
No, not in the last couple of weeks of
why
session.
not get that leverage in there too? So yeah, I think we'll work through the calendar. It's 55 pages.
That's a lot.
You can see his eyes like he.
Senate has had some incredibly late nights.
Yeah.
It's usually the House, but the House has been getting out fairly
Yeah.
early this session, and the Senate has been staying in much longer, which is kind
Yeah.
of unusual for that chamber.
And it just keeps growing over there.
It
They keep
does.
adding to it.
Yeah.
But it was also funny when we were talking to Bannister, we were asking about the sine die agreement, what we could possibly see in it. And again, he was just kind of like, oh, TBD. But then we were talking about, he's like, but we might have a continuing resolution. Again, something that's just taken for granted some of these years, a CR in case we don't pass. Oh,
hi,
very
Mr.
good.
Speaker. Would you-
Are you busy? We just
Would
had
you-
the,
we're
just had the
live
majority
right
leader.
now.
Oh, okay.
Would you like to talk about what the House is going to be doing today? If you want to stand right
Yeah.
here. All right.
Well, we just had Shane Massey on, so we got a double dip
Right.
today.
What can we expect?
We're going to be taking up DUI reform today, and so I presume that we will get on that as quickly as we can, and hopefully see if we can make some progress with that today and pass it.
Lengthy debate. We expect.
I would expect a lengthy debate. There's some issues that members have had through the process, but we'll see how those go, and hopefully we'll be able to resolve them. But this needs to be a priority of ours in South Carolina. We're leading the nation in DUI deaths, and it's really time for us to tackle this issue and try to lose that moniker of being the worst state to drive the roads in South Carolina because of DUI deaths.
We talked to Senator Massey a little bit of the lack of sine die resolution that has made its way through the full legislature. Any expectation that we could potentially see one before the session
Oh yeah,
ends?
I think there's a possibility to have a sine die resolution. We'll look at that next week and see whether we'll move that forward. The issue is you got to take have 2/3 vote, and there are people who want to leverage sine die for issues, and so to me it's an institutional process. It's one whether we are going to decide whether we come back or whether we're going to have the governor decide whether we come back, and I think we've historically preferred that our bodies come back together, make the decision whether we return to do our business in South Carolina. So I'm hopeful that we will get a sine die resolution.
Speaker Smith, why is it so hard? Why can't you just say we'll just take up conference committee reports? I mean, that's always the biggest hurdle, especially in the final 6 days after today.
Yeah, you forget that's an election year.
Yeah,
So-
I did forget.
So it's always different in
Sure.
election year, but that's historically what we do, and that's the right thing to do, and not have issues. If there are issues we've had plenty of time to address those issues, and the fact that someone will want to leverage it is really not doing the body and the General Assembly good, but it's politics, and that's what we have to deal with in these years.
And y'all got that massive roads bill through yesterday, too. That was a pretty big accomplishment for this session. Do you see that having any heartburn with the Senate?
Well, I'm sure the Senate may have some difference with governance issues and a few other things, but at the end of the day, we're going to appoint a conference committee. I hope we have it start working next week, and I am very hopeful that we will be able to get a bill, and this is going to be a monumental bill because this is going to be for the first time where we're going to attack congestion in our metropolitan areas, and that's also going to benefit the rural areas because if we do these public-private partnerships, the $5 billion that is slated to be spent on the Mark Clark Expressway may be done by a public-private partnership, and that money will be able to go to the rural areas and other areas of the state to improve our roads. So I hope that this is going to be enacted this year, and we'll start making progress as soon as we can.
You've got obviously a long day ahead of you, and I think some constituent things going on
Right.
outside. But real quick, wanted to ask, what is a top priority for you to get through both chambers of session? Obviously, y'all passed the regulations bill, and it's now in the Senate.
Yeah, I think that's my top priority right now is to get the regulations bill. We passed that early in session last year, and I think that is a bill that we all recognize is critical for continue our prosperity and success in South Carolina. We've got to get rid of all these 80,000 plus regulations, and we need to start making sure they don't live in perpetuity, but that they're approved by the General Assembly. And so I'm pleased with the progress the Senate's making, and I look forward to them sending us the bill.
And really quick on the way out, what was it like going to the White House this week to see the King and the Queen?
Oh,
You
it was
didn't
awesome.
come back with a British accent. We were fully expecting
No,
one.
and I tell you, it was an honor. It was a special time for me, but it was a really special time for my wife, who is a monarchist, and she loves the history of monarch. And I could see her taking pictures through every crack and crevice you could get of Queen Camilla and King Charles. So
Yeah.
she enjoyed it much more than I did. So I
Gotcha.
made her happy, and happy wife, happy life.
There we go. Yeah, and 6 more days after today, so
Yeah.
even more happiness
That's
too. So,
right.
all right,
All
thank you,
right,
Speaker.
thank
Appreciate
you.
it. Thanks. All right, we just
Newsy day.
Newsy day. Hopefully
DUI
everyone's
reform, if
starting
everyone
today.
heard.
Yeah.
That's what we got
It's gonna be a
going on
busy
today.
Thursday in the House taking up that bill that we just heard Senate Majority Leader Shane Massey talking about, and then we just heard Speaker Smith say, "Yeah, we're doing it today." So Thursdays typically, kind of an easier day, but here we are with 7 days, including today, left. You got to start making these Thursdays count too.
Yeah,
So.
and certainly that looks like they're going to be doing that.
That being said, we're going to send you back to the House in a moment. I just want to say that we have a great show on This Week in South Carolina Friday night at 7:30 on ETV. We're going to have another gubernatorial candidate profile with Attorney General Alan Wilson, and we also speak with the new State Election Commission Director, Conway Belangia. So a lot going on, especially in light of that MOU that the state signed with the Department of Justice dealing with sensitive voter information, including the social security numbers that we've been talking about this week. So he has more details about that. We're going to have that on ETV at 7:30 on Friday night, as well as on youtube.com/@SCETV News. We can also watch us every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday for the next 6 days. So it's been a fun session so far. But with that being said, I'm Gavin Jackson with Maayan Schechter in the State House lobby. We're going to send you back over to the House. Have a great Thursday.
The 2026 West Oak Warrior Wrestling 3A State Championship team. They are joined today by Dr. Blackwell, Principal, Athletic Director Tim Sheriff, Head Coach Derek Strobel, former assistant coach James, and former head wrestling coach Greg Brewer, who was also a 3-time state championship coach. This team just didn't win a title, they made history. Their championship run was dominated from start to finish. After a first-round bye, they defeated the Palmetto Mustangs. Where's Representative Sanders? We overwhelmed Union County, captured the Upper State Championship over Belton Honeypath, Representative Gilreath, and sealed it with the state championship victory over Hanahan High School. I'd also like to thank many of the members that came to watch that championship team. It meant a lot to our kids. It meant a lot to me. Let me throw some incredible numbers out at you. This marks the program's 10th state championship, 7 in the last 10 years, and an extraordinary 5 in a row. This year alone, we've had 8 all-state wrestlers, 4 individual champions, and 2 All-Americans, and 3 signees to colleges furthering their education, and a pear and a pear tree. Coach Strobel also reached a remarkable milestone with his 600th career win. That's not just success, that's sustained excellence. As Marcus Aurelius once said, and that's right, I'm quoting Marcus Aurelius, the art of living is more like wrestling than dancing. And these young men have shown that success doesn't just come from scripted routine, but from discipline, resilience, and the ability to rise to every challenge and overcome adversity. Today, we don't just celebrate champions, we celebrate the standard of excellence that represents Oconee County and the state of South Carolina with pride. Please join me in congratulating the West Oak Warrior Wrestling team.
Congratulations, guys. I was one of those that got to come out and watch you in the state championship. It's pretty impressive to see. And I know Coach Duncan is very proud of you, and he's a valuable member of the team as well. And we're proud of you guys, and he speaks highly of you every chance he gets on the floor. So thank y'all for being here today, and congratulations. Right, the House will stay in order. Ms. McDaniel's got a special introduction.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members of the House, up in the gallery, I have the Mayor of Blythewood, Sloan Griffith, if you would please stand, and also the Mayor of Chester. I don't see Representative Ligon over there. If he would please stand. Did I lose it? Oh. I just want you all to see these two fine young men that represent two towns in my district, and they thought it not robbery to come down here and say hello to us and let you all know that they would not be running against me, but they definitely support me. And we want to just welcome you all to the House of Representatives, and thank you all for the great work that you're each doing in your towns, the town of Blythewood and the town of Chester.
Welcome, guys. Thank y'all for being here. Thank you for what you do in your local communities. We appreciate that very much. Thank you. Mr. Taylor and the rest of the Aiken delegation. House will stay in order, please. We've still got some more introductions. Mr. Clyburn. I think they need you up front, Mr. Clyburn. House will stay in order, please. We've got a few more introductions. You ready, Mr. Taylor? You're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Well, glad you're all up there. I'm going to introduce you in just a moment, but a little background. Y'all may know that Aiken County is renowned for being that horse place, that historic horse place. You know, more than 140 years ago, the wealthy Northerners, and they're still coming, by the way, shipped their horses to Aiken on rail during the winter to get out of the snow out of the Northeast and the Midwest. They came to Aiken County to horse around. They made us a winter colony. But as a result, Aiken also became an equestrian crown jewel. A factoid, Aiken is credited with being the birthplace of polo in America. Now, I bet you all didn't know that. So Whitney Field, right in the historic horse district near downtown, is regarded as the oldest continuously existing polo field in the United States, around 1882. Still in operation most every weekend. Today, Aiken County boasts about, or a little more than 60 polo fields. How about that? 60 polo fields, besides all the other venues that are in Aiken County. That brings us to today. Now, typically, as you know, as we did this morning, we introduce our state championship teams, and we are so proud of them. But right now, we are introducing a national championship team, a national, not state. They brought it all home from the United States. With us, and I'm glad they're standing there, Representative Oremus has the resolution, a concurrent resolution from the House and Senate. Members of the University of South Carolina Aiken women's polo team. We're used to seeing a lot of team members up there, but we're going to tell you there's only 3. It happened on March 22nd of this year. It was an exhilarating finish to the team's first undefeated season in the history. Currently ranked #1 in the nation, out of 35 universities, the USC Aiken Pacers defeated Texas A&M 15-6 to earn that national crown. Since 2022, USC Aiken's polo has been playing at the D1 level, not little, D1, of all those collegiate teams. While the polo club can exist with many members, the actual team is comprised of these 3 ladies right up there. For USC Aiken, the players are, and raise your hand when I call your name so the members can know who you are, Brianna Jordan, she's the club president, Madison Jordan, her twin sister, and Winnie Branscombe, vice president. Winnie and Madison were noted as tournament all-stars, and Winnie was also awarded the best playing pony Additionally, Winnie's horses, and you know they have to have a string of horses, she received the award for the best playing string of horses. Their coach, Scott Parker, there you go, Scott, thank you, buddy. He drew on his own talents and expertise to forge that championship polo team that you're seeing up there. They refused to settle for second best. Through rigorous practice, demanding drills, Coach Scott set a standard of excellence and instilled a depth of character that will remain invaluable in your lives forever. You'll never forget it. They're joined by our good friend, the Chancellor of USC Aiken, Dan Heimerman. Thank you, Dan. I can tell you, ladies, Coach, Chancellor, that we are most grateful for the pride and recognition the members of the USC Aiken women's polo team has brought to the school and to the entire Palmetto State as national champions. The resolution that you're being presented with today by the House, concurred for by the Senate, congratulates you for your accomplishments and looks forward to hearing about your continued success. Don't stop with one now. Keep on going, okay? Colleagues, please rise and salute the University of South Carolina Aiken women's polo team on their stellar season and celebrate their win as the 2026 Division I National Intercollegiate Championship. Champions.
Congratulations, ladies. Job well done. National champions. They can't ever take that away from you. Congratulations. Coach, thank you for working with these young ladies and proud of all of you.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Weeks, I believe you have the Doctor of the Day. House will stay in order. Mr. Weeks has the Doctor of the Day. You're recognized, Mr. Weeks.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm so happy to have the opportunity today to present to you our Doctor of the Day, Dr. Lan Way. She's from Sumter, but she's a native of Manning, South Carolina. Her specialty is family medicine. She works with the McLeod Rural Residency Program, and she has with her also today Dr. Taylor Whetstone, and she's from Bamberg, South Carolina. We're so happy that you are here as our doctors of the day today, and I would ask my colleagues to please stand and give them a round of applause and welcome them to the State House.
Thank you, doctors. We appreciate you giving of your time today to be here. We appreciate it very much. We do appreciate y'all being here. Mr. Anderson's recognized for a special announcement, please. House come to order. I think some of you may want to hear this.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have some sad news today. Representative Cobb Hunter and myself.
Hold on a second, Mr. Anderson. House come to order. Guys, let's hear what Mr. Anderson's got to say.
Members, we have some sad news today. Representative Cobb Hunter and myself. Ms. Marsha Miller Isaac Wilson, who worked as a legislative aide here for about 8 years with former Representative Vita Miller and others, passed away on yesterday. So I asked that we would stand and pause and pray for the family, her husband, her children, grandchildren, and her sister-in-law, Vita Miller.
All rise as we have a moment of silence in remembering this family. Amen. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Anderson. Mr. Wooten, do you still have an announcement? Okay. Okay. Okay, we're now on the calendar. We're on page 5. Well, that's, you want to read? Clerk will read.
Message from the Senate. Mr. Speaker, members of the House, the Senate respectfully informs the honorable body in non-concurrence amendments you proposed 3924.
Message received.
Excuse me. But it concurs in the amendments you proposed.
Hold on.
All right.
Representative Weston Newton insists on the House amendments to the House Bill 3924, and when the chair appoints Representative Weston Newton, Representative Jay Jordan, and Representative Spencer Wetmore as the conferees.
Mr. Speaker, members of the House, the Senate respectfully informs the honorable body that it does concur in the amendments you proposed to Senate Bill 337.
Message received.
And it has adopted the conference report you issued on Senate 477.
Message received.
Senate amendments to Senate Bill 585, Senator Tedder.
Committee report. I'm sorry, Senate amendments.
Committee reports. Ways and Means, favorable with amendment, Senate 238.
Committee report.
Ways and Means, favorable as is, Senate 769.
Committee report.
Ways and Means, favorable as is, 893, Senate 893.
Committee report.
As well as Senate 866.
Committee report.
LCI committee reports favorably, 857, Senate 857.
Committee report.
LCI favorable as is, Senate 619, Gambrel.
Committee report.
LCI favorable as is, Senate 780, Gambrel.
Committee report.
LCI favorable with amendment, Senate 787, Gambrel.
Committee report.
LCI favorable as is, Senate 830, Senator Alexander.
Committee report.
Introduction of a new House resolution by Ms. Erickson, authorizing the student legislature to use this chamber at a time determined by the clerk.
Adopted.
Ms. Erickson expressing sincere gratitude to students and interns who have dedicated their services and time.
Representative Erickson asks unanimous consent to add the roll of the House. Any objections? Hearing none, so ordered.
Representative Govan recognizing and congratulating the Orangeburg School District.
Representative Govan asks unanimous consent to add the roll of the House. Any objection? Hearing none, so ordered.
St. Paul Wickensheimer recognizing Greenville Garden Club.
Representative Wickensheimer asks unanimous consent to add the roll of the House. Any objection? Hearing none, so ordered.
Merle Smith and Weeks honoring Kennedy Jeter.
Representative Smith asks unanimous consent to add the roll of the House. Any objection? Hearing none, so ordered.
Senate 1133, Hutto, and many others, DOT naming a section.
Invitations.
Senate 1154, Allen, honoring Maxie Burton.
Adopted. We're on the calendar. We're on page 5. We're on page 5, second reading, local uncontested bills. Clerk will read.
First bill 5573, Representative Long, Spartanburg delegation.
Spartanburg ready to go? Question is second reading on House Bill 5573. Roll call required in order. Voting on the board. All members voted. All members voted. Wish to vote. All members voted. All members voted. Almost time. That'll be quick. I'm going to try to run through these things pretty quick this morning, so we won't be here all night. All members voted. Clerk will close the polls, tabulate by a vote of 1040. House Bill 5573 receives second reading. Mr. Long asks unanimous consent. Give the bill third reading. Any objection? Seeing none, so ordered. Clerk will read. We're now on third reading statewide uncontested bill, Senate Bill 718. Clerk will read.
718 Garrett, LCI favorable, adopted amendment.
Questions third reading on Senate Bill 718. All in favor say aye. All opposed no. Third reading is granted. Clerk will read.
Next, Bill 150, Senate 150, Blackman, LCI favorable, adopted amendment.
Questions third reading on Senate 150. All in favor say aye. All opposed no. Third reading is granted. Clerk will read.
Senate 715, LCI favorable as is.
Question is third reading on Senate Bill 715. All members unanimous consent, third reading? Any objection? So ordered.
We have House Bill 3371, Hickson, Ways and Means favorable with amendment. Adopted amendment.
Questions third reading on House Bill 3371. All in favor say aye. All opposed no, and the ayes have it. Third reading is granted. Now we're on second reading statewide uncontested bills. We're now on Senate Bill 851. Mr. Hewitt moves that we adjourn debate on Senate Bill 851. All in favor say aye. All opposed no. 850.
Hewitt, simple.
Clerk will read.
Senate 196, Senator Cromer, LCI. We have amendment.
Mr. Hewitt moves to adjourn debate on Senate 196. All in favor say aye. All opposed no. Debate is adjourned. Clerk will read.
697, Senator Gamble, LCI.
Mr. Hewitt once again moves to adjourn debate on Senate 697. All in favor say aye. All opposed no. Debate is adjourned. Clerk will read.
Senate 325, Senator Massey, LCI favorable.
Mr. Hewitt moves to adjourn debate on Senate 325. All in favor say aye. All opposed no. The ayes have it. Clerk will read.
Senate 163, Senator Verdin, LCI favorable, as is.
Mr. Hewitt once again moves to adjourn debate. All in favor say aye. All opposed no, and the ayes have it. We adjourn debate on 163. Clerk will read.
Brandon Newton, 5488, Ways and Means favorable.
Mr. Hewitt moves to adjourn debate on House Bill 5488. All in favor say aye. All opposed no, and the ayes have it. Clerk will read.
Hewitt again, simple. 5122, Brandon Newton, Ways and Means favorable. Amendment.
Mr. Hewitt moves to adjourn debate on House Bill 5122. All in favor say aye. All opposed no, and the ayes have it. We've adjourned debate on 5122. Clerk will read.
One second. I'm getting so we can see it. There we go. Senate 11, Senator Jackson, Ways and Means favorable. Amendment number 1. Ways and Means.
Representative Cobb Hunter is recognized to speak on amendment number 1. Ms. Cobb Hunter, do you need a copy of the amendment? Glad we could wake you up. Ms. Cobb Hunter is recognized to speak on amendment number 1.
Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker and members, S11 deals with parental leave, and I'm going to explain the committee amendment. Pretty much, we had 2 bills here in the House that dealt with parental leave. One that gave 12 weeks, and the other that included the stillborn language. What this bill does, what this S11, it kind of is like a strike and insert, and what this does is allow 12 weeks of parental leave, and I would be happy to entertain any questions, Mr. Speaker.
Ms. Cobb Hunter, seeing no questions, the question is adoption. Ms. Cobb Hunter, I think now someone's decided to ask a question. You answer any questions? Ms. Cobb Hunter is recognized. Mr. Magnuson, you're recognized for the first question.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So to be clear, this is taking the parental leave from 6 weeks to 12 weeks. This is an amendment that would add that to this bill?
Yes.
Okay. Who would be included in that?
It includes state employees and teachers.
Okay. So what is the cost that is being added there?
Hold on, let
with
me
this
double
amendment?
check because I don't remember it being let me double check. Getting it for you, Mr. Magnuson. Thank you. Thanks, Terica. The total impact on state expenditure is undetermined, as will depend on the number of newly eligible employees who will experience a qualifying event. There is no expenditure impact expected.
Okay. Did you know that I was contacted by my local school district to be asked to oppose this? The cost for them would be $500,000 in order to implement this. Did you know that?
I did not know that, but I'm sure you, being a man of integrity and honesty, certainly wouldn't say something that's not true.
Well, thank you for that, Representative Cobb Hunter, and I certainly know that you are a person who believes in what you believe, and I know that we would agree on the need for, I guess the goodness of having parents involved in their child's lives, especially a newborn child. But did you know that I also believe that this shouldn't be something that the state is giving to people? And did you know that when the state is giving something to people and actually causing more costs, that you're taking those away from somebody else? So that $500,000 would have to be paid for by the taxpayers in my district who already don't have parental leave. Most people are not getting these welfare benefits that others are.
Is there a question?
So we're adding.
Question?
Well, did you know that when government creates more benefits for some, it takes out of the pockets of others? Representative Cobb Hunter, that would be my question.
Okay, and thank you for clarifying your question. Here's what I would respond to you. First of all, I would, and I'm sure the sponsors of this amendment or this bill would take exception to your characterization of this as welfare. So let me just say that for the record. The second part is, of course, I believe you when you say that it will cost your district $500,000, but what I have to go on is what our state agencies who we task with that responsibility, what they report. And what I read is what our 2 entities that have this responsibility have shared. The other part of taking away, I'm not sure how I understand. I'm not sure if I understand your point about taking something away. Quite the contrary. We are actually giving state employees an additional 6 weeks. Currently, it is 6 weeks. The reason that this legislation was necessary is because there was a lack of clarity in 2 areas. One, in terms of stillborn and whether or not people who experience stillborn births are able to take leave. This bill clears that up. Mr. Moore had a bill that made it clear that stillborns were a part of this. And the other is whether or not we believe that teachers ought to be able to have the same benefit as state employees when they deliver, when they have a birth. So it's under that concept. I'm not sure if that answers your question, but I'm not sure that I can answer your question if your belief is that this is taking something away in some way. I'm not sure how you figure that.
So, well, Representative, we don't print money, okay? Even the federal government, when they print money, they're borrowing it from the Federal Reserve, right? So everything comes from somewhere. But did you know that the words on paper here did not automatically entitle people and allow for people to have parental leave? Somebody is having to pay for that to happen. And if the state is paying, then that means state taxpayers are bearing the burden. If the counties or the local school districts are having to pay, that means the local school citizens in that community are paying. So somebody is paying for this cost.
You may be interested in knowing, Mr. Magnuson, that before this leave can be used, that an employee has to use all of their annual leave. And so in effect, that employee is paying the cost. You and I disagree, and I'm not sure that your continuing to ask questions along this line will result in your changing your opinion.
Well, that's fair enough, but thank you for answering my question, and I think that
you're more than welcome. What I would ask you, Mr. Magnuson, is I see there are others who have questions, only have 10 minutes. If you would allow, since we both agreed to disagree agreeably, if you would allow other colleagues to get their questions.
That is fair enough. We can agree to disagree. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
ma'am.
Appreciate it.
Mr. Collins, you're recognized for the next question.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you, Representative Cobb Hunter. I would characterize this as a pro-family legislation.
I certainly thought so, and I thought all these pro-family people in here would just go really gung-ho, 10 toes down for it. I'm shocked.
Okay, and I also want to clarify one thing that Representative Magnuson just said about cost. We fought this with the
Mr. Speaker, I'm having trouble hearing. I don't know if
The House will come to order, please. We're having trouble question and answering here. The House will come to order, please.
We had this same argument with the 6 weeks bill, did we not, with the school districts?
Yes.
That it would just totally throw them under. And did you know in the 2 to 3 years since, I have not heard one issue from school districts on that topic?
Exactly.
And the same, I guess, line of argument is being said, but with that $500,000 that was just sent out, what I would suspect that number is a full 12-week expense of a substitute. Now, would you agree that the school districts were already paying for substitutes for the average is around 9 weeks off?
Well, and I would think, Mr. Collins, that school districts have budget line items that include substitute teaching, because while our teachers are great, not all of them are able to be there 100% every day of the school year. And so I would think that a school district would already have budgeted substitute teaching experience.
And along with that, just the point of it really is not very straightforward of saying the full amount.
I agree, Ms. Collins. House will come to order, please. Sergeant, can you help me a little bit here? We got a whole lot of murmuring and light conversations. House will come to order. Got some serious discussion going on in here. We need to have some conversation. We need to be quiet. You're ready to go again.
Would you agree with me that the impact we don't know because school districts are already paying the vast majority of these expenses, and obviously it depends on how many mothers that we have each year?
I would agree with that. And again, Mr. Collins, this is not mandatory. Districts have, employees can opt in or out. So I think that's important for the body to understand.
And just last comment, I am disappointed in the School Boards Association and the School Administrators Association fighting against a pro-life, pro-teacher bill. And if the public and the teachers knew that they were doing that, I think this would be a different conversation.
I appreciate you saying that, Mr. Collins, because we had a subcommittee hearing. Both those organizations were there and had an opportunity to share any concerns raised by their membership. I, as chair of that subcommittee, don't recall any testimony against the legislation. There are other colleagues who were a part of that. We had a very robust conversation about this, about the impact on school districts. There's a whole conversation from Representative Hayes about the instructional days. And so my point is—
Excuse me, Ms. Cobb-Hunter, your first 10 minutes is up. We'd like to have your second. You have other questions?
Sir. Yes, sir. I'll leave it at that, Mr. Speaker, so I can hear other questions and have enough time to respond appropriately.
Ms. Bernstein, you're recognized for the next question.
Thank you, Representative Cobb. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you, Representative Cobb-Hunter. You've been a tremendous advocate for supporting parental rights, and I appreciate your advocacy in that area and your support of this bill. And did you know, Representative Cobb-Hunter, that in fact bills like this actually improve the employee morale? It keeps the teachers there. It actually is probably more of a cost benefit to the schools because teachers will remain there, they'll be happy, and I'll let you respond to that part of it.
Ms. Bernstein, I would agree with that. Quite frankly, what I've been told is that districts see this as an opportunity for not just retention, but also recruitment. Not just districts, but also because we're getting kind of bogged and mired into teachers. I would remind the body that this also covers state employees. And so when we talk about recruitment and retention, and you know, I've tried for a number of years to make sure we are paying state employees adequately. What some employers believe is that this increased leave will be an additional tool in their toolbox that will help them with recruitment and retention.
Exactly. Most importantly, I think that is a good, something that you highlighted and pointed out. And I just want to make sure that you know that this bill is probably one of the most pro-family unification, bonding moments for a parent and a child that we are debating. So this is a very pro-family bill. And I'm surprised that some members who claim to be pro-family are not supportive of it.
Well, Ms. Bernstein, not only is it pro-family, quite frankly, I'm impressed with the fact that it had bipartisan support, both in the House as well as the Senate. And as one who rarely sees these kinds of measures with bipartisan support, I quite frankly thought it was, you know, a no-brainer as far as support is concerned. I am hearing otherwise based on the questions and comments this morning.
I agree wholeheartedly with you, and thank you for your efforts.
Thank you.
Ms. Terry Bill is recognized for the next question.
Thank you. Good morning. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Representative, did you know that I am the mom of two boys, and when my oldest son was born, we both got very sick, and my husband and I made the decision that I was going to leave work and stay home with him to take care of him, and I ended up staying home 10 years to raise my sons. Did you know that?
I didn't know, but did you know you are blessed and highly favored to have the choice to do that? Not many women do, not many parents do. So congratulations, you had that opportunity.
Well, I do feel blessed to do that, but it wasn't easy. My husband and I had to make sacrifices because we no longer had my salary. So we had to sacrifice in order to make that choice. And so there's a lot of parents like myself and others who are in the private sector who don't work for the state and don't have that option to have paid leave. And so I think what a good option would be instead of giving 12 weeks of paid leave, instead we put that money that the school districts would have to pay to do that into increasing their salaries so that the parents who won't be able to take advantage of paid leave can have that money in their pocket and then make the decision, like I did, whether they'd like to stay home or not. What do you think about increasing the salaries for teachers instead of paying for extra paid leave?
I think what you're talking about is mixing apples and oranges. At the end of the day, it's all still fruit. However, what I would encourage you to remember is that the public sector and the private sector are two different entities. I don't think the districts or school employees or state employees for that matter, ought to be at the whim of us putting money in a pot for leave. I would think that South Carolina believes that the talk we have every year about supporting families, supporting teachers, supporting employees, that in and of itself would be incentive for this General Assembly to do its job, which is to adequately fund public education. And as I said, you and your husband were fortunate. You were in the private sector. And I know there are a lot of people who believe that government ought to be run by a business. I don't share that belief, but I do think it's important for us to understand that what we're doing here with this parental leave bill is to say to state employees, to teachers, that we care, that we aren't just going to talk the talk, we're going to walk the walk, that we also recognize that we as a state, while we've made progress as far as teacher pay is concerned, we're not where we need to be, and any other kind of incentive that this General Assembly, because public education, and of course now private education, is in the wheelhouse of the General Assembly. And so I would hope that you would agree that we shouldn't not do this because of a personal belief that the private sector has to pay its own way. And so we ought to just put this money in a pot for public employees,
I know some other
including
people.
teachers.
Yes, thank you. I know some other people have questions, so I don't want to monopolize. But one more thing. What are your thoughts on the fact that now if we increase it to 12 weeks, that's 3 months that teachers will be out of the classroom, and it's very disruptive to students
My
to have.
thoughts, I'm not cutting you off, but you
Yeah.
did acknowledge there were others waiting.
Well-
my thought is that that's why we have substitute teachers. And as Mr. Collins pointed out, districts budget for substitute teachers. I would share with you as well.
Excuse me, Mr. Cobb Hunter. Coach Hayes, what purpose do you rise? Coach Hayes requests debate. Mr. Magnuson requests debate. Ms. Edgerton. Mr. Frank. Mr. Moss. Mr. Huff. Mr. Beach. Mr. Hickson. Mr. White. Mr. Kilmartin. Mr. Gilreath. Terrible. Excuse me, Jackie. Mr. Duncan. Mr. Morgan. I believe that'll hold it. It's on the contested calendar now. Clerk will read. Mr. Newton, what purpose do you rise?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I make a motion that we reconsider the vote by which we adjourn debate on House Bill 5488.
Mr. Brandon Newton makes a motion to reconsider the vote whereby we adjourn debate on House Bill 5488. All in favor say aye. All opposed, no. We've reconsidered House Bill 5488, and it's before us now. Clerk will read.
5488, Brandon Newton, Ways and Means favorable as is.
Mr. Long is recognized to speak on House Bill 5488.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and members. 5488 clarifies eligibility requirements for tax credits under the South Carolina Texas Communities Revitalization Act. This is needed because the Department of Revenue raised some interpretation questions on the current statute, and so this is really just cleaning up the language there. Happy to take any questions and move for adoption if there are none.
Seeing no you have a question. You take them, Mr. Long?
Sure.
Mr. Pace is recognized for the first question.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Long, first time we're seeing this bill on the floor. I just want some clarifications. So is it singling out textiles, or is this like giving them a special tax credit, like former textile sites?
So there's an existing statute related to credits for textile mills that are being revitalized.
Right.
And a lot of times those projects have a lot of different stakeholders and different people that are involved with it, and there's different parcels a lot of the times. Mm-hmm. And so there's been a long-standing practice of how this has been done, and the Department of Revenue raised some questions about how they were interpreting that particular provision. So really this is related to having multiple phases involved with how they're revitalizing mills. I know in Spartanburg County, for example, one good success was the Drayton Mills, and there's been others as well. So this doesn't change anything related to the tax credits themselves, but it's about cleaning up the language related to, I guess, it qualifying when you're in like a multi-phase or in your project where there's a lot of different people involved.
Would it include, I know the previous statute, unchanged, included demolition. Does it still include the demolition aspect? Like if you demolish the textile site, you get a tax credit?
So it doesn't change any of those sorts of things. All it says is related to when you've got multiple parcels. So textile mill, it's not just the mill, but it's also all the surrounding properties.
Right.
It does not change anything related to what the qualifying activities are. It has to do with, as you've got multiple pieces, potentially multiple phases, you've got different developers that are working on different parts of the project, and that those can operate independently instead of mandating that all of it has to be together when you've got different people involved.
So if there's like multiple buyers or things going on different parts of the campus, the previous campus.
Correct.
Okay, they wouldn't have to share the tax credit. They'd each get a tax credit.
Proportional to whatever they're working on.
Gotcha.
But the interpretation question that was raised was if all of it has to be done in order for these sorts of things to apply. And
Right.
that doesn't work when one person's working on their stuff and then they're all of a sudden responsible for stuff that somebody else is doing.
So if like one group is revitalizing the store versus the mill itself, is that accurate?
Correct.
Okay. All right, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Perfect.
Seeing no further questions, the question is second reading on House Bill 5488. Roll call required in order of voting on the board. Representative Kirby is recognized for an introduction during the roll call. House will stay in order, please. Representative Kirby, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen, we are so fortunate today to have what is, I think you will agree with me, is an absolute man at the pinnacle of the music industry in this country. Up in the balcony, Frank Rogers is standing. Frank is a renowned producer, songwriter, publisher, and independent label owner whose influence on Nashville's music scene has been undeniable. He's currently the CEO of Spirit Music Group, one of the world's leading independent music publishers. Frank was born in the old McLeod Infirmary in Florence. And he's the 6th Frank Mandeville Rogers born in the northeast corner of Florence County, which dates back to 1833. He grew up in Sumter, graduated from Sumter High, then to Belmont University with a degree in music business, which then launched him into the most incredible career imaginable. Frank has written 10 #1 hits. I'm going to read a few of those off because I'm sure y'all will remember these. I'm Gonna Miss Her by Brad Paisley. All Right by Darius Rucker. This by Darius Rucker. The Backroads Song by Granger Smith. How About 5 More Minutes by Scotty McCreery. In Between, Scotty McCreery. You Time, Scotty McCreery. Bottle Rockers, Scotty McCreery, and Hootie and the Blowfish. Y'all remember those? That man right there wrote them, every one. Not only that, he's had 12 top 10 hits, 16 top 20 hits. And listen to this one. He has produced 46 #1 hits. 46 #1 hits. He's received 27 Academy of Country Music Award nominations, and he's won 5 of them. 18 CMA nominations, and has won Album of the Year. Credits include hits by Darius Rucker, Brad Paisley, Josh Turner, Trace Adkins, Scotty McCreery, Hootie and the Blowfish, among many others. And his catalog is expansive. He's worked with Bruno Mars. He's worked with so many across all genres of music. Frank is a living legend in the music world, and it's an honor to have him here with us today. He's joined up top by Representative Lee Hewitt, and we have prepared, Frank, we're giving you a state flag that was flown in your honor with a certificate for you to keep. Maybe you can move around some of those gold and platinum records in your office and have a place to hang that on the wall. I'm going to ask your family to stand up. So Frank's joined by his lovely wife, Jessica. Oh, yeah, there's Jessica. She's filming some of this, I think. and also his father and mother, Frank. We know him as Buzz Rogers, and Ray, his wife. And also their son, Manny. Manny, good to see you, bud. The Rogers family, 7th generation Frank Mandeville Rogers up here in the house. So, Frank, we really appreciate y'all taking time to be here. It's an honor to be able to recognize you. Thank you for all of your work that you've done. Frank and Jessica, when they're not in Nashville, have a home in Murrells Inlet. And I think Lee said he runs into them at Lee's Inlet Kitchen every now and then. So it's so good to have you here. He's on his way downstairs, ladies and gentlemen, to receive the Order of the Palmetto from Governor McMaster. Y'all give them a huge hand. Thank you.
Welcome to the State House, Frank. Thank you very much. We appreciate all you've done for the state of South Carolina. We appreciate it. We'll have you back one day and we'll let Roger sing some of your songs for us. Clerk, got one more announcement. Representative Herb Kurzman and Representative Newton. In the roll call.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
House will stay in order, please.
Mr. Kirby, that was a great oration right there, but let me ask you one question. Can you make a sandwich? And I'll tell you why. Because today in Bluffton, South Carolina is not only known for its famous and unbelievable representation, but it's also known for its downtown deli, who today got Small Business of the Year for South Carolina. So, stand up, Leah.
Congratulations. And we'll expect Representative Herb Curtis to be bringing some samples to us next week. So we look forward to the samples. Thank y'all for being here. Congratulations. Thank y'all. Clerk will close the polls and tabulate by a vote of 89-13. House Bill 5488 gets second reading. Time has expired in the uncontested calendar. Mr. Brandon Newton moves that we recur to the morning hour. All in favor say aye. All opposed no, and the ayes have it. We recur to the morning hour. We're back on page 7, Senate Bill 851. Clerk will read.
Thank you, Juanita. Senate 851 was adjourned debate. Alexander Young, LCI, favorable as is. We have an amendment on the desk. Mr. Frank.
Mr. Brandon Newton moves to adjourn debate on Senate 851. All in favor say aye. All opposed no, and the ayes have it. Clerk will read.
Is that okay? Like that? Yep. Senate 196, Senator Cromer, LCI favorable. Mr. Frank.
Mr. Brandon Newton moves to adjourn debate on Senate Bill 196. All in favor say aye. All opposed no, and the ayes have it. Clerk will read.
Senate Bill 697.
Mr. Newton once again moves to adjourn debate on Senate 697. All in favor say aye. All opposed no, and the ayes have it. Clerk will read.
Senate 325.
Mr. Brandon Newton moves to adjourn debate on Senate 325. All in favor say aye. All opposed no, and the ayes have it. We've adjourned debate. Clerk will read.
Senate 163, Burden.
Mr. Brandon Newton moves to adjourn debate on Senate 163. All in favor say aye.
They're going to try to.
All opposed no, and the ayes have it. Now we're on page 10, 5122.
5122, Brandon Newton, Ways and Means favorable with amendment number 1, the committee report.
Mr. Representative Long is recognized to speak on amendment number 1 on House Bill 5122. You're recognized, Mr. Long.
Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker and members. I'll touch on the bill briefly so I can speak to what the amendment does. The bill establishes sales and use tax exemptions for internet access service providers and communication service providers, exempting supplies, technical equipment, machinery, and electricity sold to distribute internet services. It's a $10 million cap, which is prorated if the amount of requests exceed that. The amendment simply clarifies that the $10 million cap is an annual cap and would move for adoption of the amendment and the bill unless there's questions.
Seeing no questions, the question is adoption of amendment number 1. All in favor say aye. All opposed no, and amendment number 1 has been adopted.
There are no further amendments.
Mr. Long, having explained the bill through the amendment, asks that we give House Bill 5122 second reading. Voting on the board. The question is second reading on House Bill 5122. All members voted. All members voted that wish to vote. Have all members voted? Clerk will close the poll to tabulate by a vote of 82-15. House Bill 5122 gets second reading. Mr. Long asks unanimous consent to give the bill third reading. Any objection? Hearing none, so ordered. Clerk will read.
Senate 853, Senator Davis, Ways and Means. Ways and Means, this.
Mr. Brandon Newton moves to adjourn debate on Senate 853. All in favor say aye. All opposed no, and the ayes have it. Clerk will read.
439, Senate 439, Peeler, Ways and Means.
Mr. Brandon Newton moves to adjourn debate on Senate 439. All in favor say aye.
Simple.
All opposed no, and the ayes have it. Clerk will read.
Senate 863, Grooms, Ways and Means.
Mr. Newton moves to adjourn debate on Senate 863. All in favor say aye. All opposed no, and the ayes have it. We've adjourned debate. Clerk will read.
Senate 52, Judiciary, favorable with amendment number 1, the committee report.
Okay. We're now on the DUI bill. Representative Robbie Robbins is recognized to speak on the DUI bill, amendment number 1.
All right.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, we are going to initially, we've got several amendments that we need to do to clean up the work that was done, but this is a very complicated bill. There were 7 amendments adopted in the Criminal Law Subcommittee and another 8 that were adopted at the full committee. What I'm going to do first is to move to table the full committee amendment because it does not contain all the committee amendments. And once we do that, then we can take up what is called the Johnson-Robbins Amendment, which reflects the committee's action that was taken earlier in the week, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Robbins moves to table amendment number 1. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed no, and amendment number 1 has been tabled. Clerk will read.
Number two, J.E. Johnson and Robbins.
Mr. Robbins, you're recognized to speak on amendment number 2.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the Criminal Law Subcommittee met on 5 different occasions over the past month, receiving testimony and meeting with stakeholders to improve on what the Senate sent over to us. I believe, and I believe Mr. Johnson does as well, that the work that was produced by the committee, by the subcommittee and the full committee strengthens the DUI laws in the state of South Carolina. That deliberative approach led to an amendment that passed unanimously by the full Judiciary Committee. I will repeat that. The Judiciary Committee vote on this bill was unanimous. As I said, this amendment is the committee amendment. I'm going to explain the committee's work and the bill itself, and then we'll be happy to answer any questions. The committee amendment did not change the main objective of S52 passed by the Senate, and that is the need to strengthen our impaired driving laws. The committee amendment did increase the penalties for individuals convicted of DUI and DUAC, and that is consistent with what the Senate passed. The committee amendment adopts the Senate's proposal for the new offense for felony DUI second degree with a small reduction in the proposed penalty. That change will apply to an impaired driver who causes what we have defined as moderate bodily injury, and that definition is consistent with other definitions of moderate bodily injury found in state law. So let me explain to everyone where we are with that now. Prior to the full vote of the Judiciary Committee, we had felony DUI for death, we had felony DUI for great bodily injury, and now we have felony DUI in the second degree as well. So I believe we have absolutely strengthened the felony DUI statute, and that is where our stakeholders on the victim rights side of things wanted us to act. Next, adding this charge to our existing felony DUI laws allows solicitors and judges to seek 3 different penalties, as I said, depending on the harm an impaired driver causes another person. The amendment also keeps this proposed new offense for reckless driving with great bodily injury occurs or moderate bodily injury occurs. So right now, under current law, we just have reckless driving. We don't have any reckless driving when somebody gets hurt or killed. So we now have those 2 categories as well, and we also enhance the penalties for child endangerment, which were already in the law. The amendment proposes an increase in terms of suspension if individuals refuse to take a breath test under the implied consent statute, as well as suspensions for individuals who do tests and have a BAC above a 0.15. And the statistics, we talked a lot about data yesterday. The data shows that people who are above a 0.15 are an absolute imminent threat to society. The committee amendment modifies the Senate language that creates a restitution process if an impaired driver leaves another driver totally and permanently disabled. This will require the driver to help offset the loss of income when the victim has minor children. We modified the Senate bill in that regard to make it totally and permanently disabled, and that is obviously a new part of the DUI laws. The next amendment also updates the laws regarding videotaping of traffic stops and testing of the presence of alcohol or drugs. The amendment allows for blood testing when probable cause exists that the person is impaired with drugs or a combination of drugs and alcohol. The testing will be done under current law, which is by a physician, registered nurse, or other medical personnel trained to draw blood, and the test would take place at a licensed medical facility. The Senate bill opened the door for roadside blood testing, and for a whole host of reasons, the committee could not get on board with that proposal. However, the committee recognizes that blood testing needs to be inserted into the statute for DUI and DUA offenses that are not felony-oriented. By requiring a probable cause determination prior to blood testing, the committee is following state Supreme Court case law on the subject, which balances a person's individual liberty with the need to prosecute bad actors. The committee amendment modernizes the videotaping requirement of traffic stops. It allows for multiple cameras to be used and introduced into evidence, and states that a judge must consider all video evidence before rendering a decision. Importantly, technical defects in the video recording would not be the sole basis for dismissal of a case. And I will say to you that we have codified the case law that has occurred over the last 10 years, and about the only way that a videotaping issue would result in a dismissal at this point would be if there just is not any videotaping done, or it is done absolutely incorrectly. The committee amendment also loosens the restriction of the full recording of Miranda rights, only requiring that the recording reasonably document the advisement of Miranda. Again, this approach codifies Supreme Court precedent, and right now the case law only requires that it be read at the arrest of the defendant, and it is not a grounds for dismissal, only a grounds for suppression. As many of you will recall, the General Assembly passed new ignition interlock requirements that took effect less than 2 years ago. We just had this debate on S36 in 2023. The Senate proposed expanding the law to require ignition interlock devices on everyone who is arrested and refuses to submit or blows a .15 or higher. We had that debate 2 years ago. This body told the Senate that we did not want to do that. Instead, we affixed interlocks to those who were convicted of first offense DUI, which had not previously been done. And so in this amendment, the committee did not go as far as the Senate, but did require the device on individuals who have a prior conviction for DUI and then are determined to have a BAC of 0.15 or higher. Those individuals will get an ignition interlock upon arrest, or they will not be on the roadways. One small but important addition to the bill, and thanks to Representative Bailey for this idea, is that the DMV and Office of Substance Abuse Services are going to report back to the General Assembly the estimated costs of creating an educational program for new drivers on the impact impaired driving has on their fellow citizens. So that, Mr. Speaker, is the summary of the Johnson-Robbins amendment.
You take questions?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Gatch is recognized for the first question.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, Mr. Robbins, for helping us with this bill. I know it's been an incredible amount of work for you guys, and I remember months ago you studying this bill in the seat that we shared this desk together. A couple of questions. So, did I hear it right that you said that the Miranda requirement is going to be altered as it relates to the Miranda being given to the alleged incapacitated driver is not going to be required to be on video anymore?
Yes, sir. The previous iteration of this law required that Miranda be videotaped at the incident scene, and it also provided for a dismissal of the charge if that was not done. Case law, since that statute was implemented, has evolved into it's not going to be a dismissal, it'll be a suppression. And so what we did in this bill was let's just say that the officer, you can clearly hear the officer giving the Miranda advisory, but the defendant is not on the video or is not completely on the video the entire time. As long as they can reasonably document the giving of the Miranda, then it will be okay. And if they don't, then it's a suppression motion instead of a dismissal.
I appreciate that explanation, and I know that this bill isn't like, this isn't like your bill necessarily, and it wasn't necessarily, your idea, but it just concerns me that we would, the Miranda rights as it relates to due process of people who are potentially at risk of losing their freedom. As you know, because you practice criminal law, that gives notice to the...
Excuse me one second. Your first 10 minutes on the amendment's up. You wish to be recognized for your second. You have other questions.
Yes, sir, Mr. Speaker.
You're recognized for your second 10 minutes.
Thank you. I would just say that it concerns me that if they were to make an inculpatory statement and we can't be sure that the Miranda rights that were the notice that, hey, by the way, you will have a problem with this statement being used against you, you have the right to remain silent. But if you talk, you're in trouble, it's going to be used against you. I like the idea that we can see the context. Where were they when he said it? Was the person paying attention? Was the person in any way incapacitated? So on and so forth. So did you know that is one of the little things in this bill that gives me heartburn?
I understand that, and I would just say to you that I've always thought it interesting that we've got somebody falling down drunk, but they need to be able to understand these things.
That's true.
But that aside, I think, let me try to give you an example. Let's just say that the arresting officer is reading the Miranda to the suspect in front of his car, and for whatever reason, we only have audio, we don't have video, but you can clearly hear him reading the rights, but the assisting officer is standing right beside him with his body-worn camera running, and they have video of that. That would be, I think, an example of reasonably documenting the advisory and would not be a problem for a prosecution.
Yes, sir. Do you know that 25% of Americans suffer from trypanophobia?
I don't even know what that is.
I'm glad that you asked. It is the fear of needles. And so it sounded like the bill is requiring a person, sounds like we have a 1 in 4 chance that this person's going to have a fear of needles. If they have a fear of needles and they say, I can't because of a genuine fear, they're going to lose their license and be suspended for that?
So the Senate bill pretty much allowed for, the Senate bill required on a first offense DUI and up that the suspect submit to a blood draw if the officer had reasonable suspicion that drugs were involved. And the way the bill is drafted and the way that we interpreted that bill, it would allow for blood to be drawn anywhere. It could be drawn at the arrest scene, it could be drawn at the jail, it could be drawn at the police officer's house. I mean, it could be anywhere. I can tell you that I don't like needles. I don't like when I have to go give blood to the doctor, and I'm sure there are many people that don't like needles. What we discussed in subcommittee and what we discussed in full is that we did not want officers to be drawing blood on the side of the road. We did not want blood to be drawn at jails, primarily for sanitary reasons, and that we wanted to continue with the language that is currently in the law, which says licensed medical facility. But given the rise in illegal drugs, given the rise in these new synthetic things that we've been debating this session, and yesterday we took a vote on Kratom, the Senate thought, and the full Judiciary Committee thinks, that we need to provide for blood draws for each one of these offenses, and that's what we did. And so you can refuse, but if you refuse, you'll be suspended.
So if, is there a likelihood that there will be a lot less breathalyzer machines used and a lot more blood draws taking place?
I think only time will tell on that, but we are not suspending the requirement that you submit to a breath test.
Right.
First, you were first offered a breath test, then, excuse me, then if probable cause is established, you move to a blood test.
Oh, I see. Okay. Well, I appreciate that. And my only last question is that the Senate version did have the roadside blood draws in their version, correct?
Say that again?
Yes, sir. The Senate version that came to the Judiciary Committee did have the roadside blood draws. So if this went to a conference committee, that's still language that would be available to the conference committee, correct?
Yes, they also have the word phlebotomist in there, which would basically allow anyone, as I said in subcommittee and full, anybody that got an online degree could be a phlebotomist. And I did not like that expansion, and so we deleted the word phlebotomist and stuck with doctors and nurses and folks that are trained to administer blood draws.
Thank you, Ms. Robbins.
Mr. Rutherford's recognized for the next question.
Thank you, Ms. Cobb-Hunter, for the water.
Mr. Robbins, and did you know that I appreciate the work that you've done on this bill, and you've come to talk to all the parties involved, and yes, you should do that, but did you also know that I was here the last time we passed a DUI bill, that a lot of the same people that are telling us the law does not work, those same people were telling us this law that we passed back then would fix our DUI problem. Did you know that?
I'm sure they probably did.
Did you know that we sat in a small room, as they said, videotape, and if they don't videotape, it gets dismissed, and they were fine with that because they knew that law enforcement officers could follow the law, the directive, videotape, and if not, it'd be dismissed. And they knew that back then. Did you know that?
I'm going to take your word for it.
And so now they're telling us they have a new solution to the old problem that they created. And so their new solution is all these things that we're going to do in this chamber that nobody outside of this chamber is going to know that we've done. And so how is it going to fix a problem that we created by listening to them again? How is it going to fix the problem?
Well, I don't know that we can fix the problem, Representative Rutherford, but I can tell you that we did our dead level best to get the best bill we could get, and I think we have done that. And I think that's evidenced by the vote of the full Judiciary Committee.
And I agree with you. I know that you all did your dead level best. We did it back then. But we continue to listen to people that don't go to court, that aren't in courtrooms, that don't understand how the process works, and we continue to do things to appease them and fix no problem at all. And so in this bill, did you all put a provision, and did you know, that I had clients in Beaufort, South Carolina? They were arrested and charged with DUI by a trooper who was trying to meet a quota. They blew a 0.0. They had no alcohol. They told him that. He arrested them anyway, and others, and took them to jail, even though they were not drunk and had not been drinking. Is there a provision in the law that says that if somebody blows a 0.0, rather than having to go and do a blood test, if they're not suspected of being on drugs, that they are released?
There is not.
Why is that not a problem when we are saying that this is subjective? So it's not like somebody breaking into a bank. This is whether the trooper or officer believes that they've had too much to drink. He takes them down to the data master. They blow a 0.0. He's wrong, and he takes them to jail anyway.
All right, well, let's walk through the statute.
Let's do it.
So if they, first off, you assume that this officer believed that they were impaired by alcohol, and that's why he's offering a breath test. If they blow 0.0 or less than 0.5, they are conclusively presumed to be not under the influence of alcohol. Alcohol, only alcohol. So I think the reason why they're not released immediately is because that officer then believes or has some evidence that they are under the influence of something else. The Senate version of this bill wanted to rely on that officer's opinion and just allow reasonable suspicion in order to move to that next phase, Representative Rutherford, and we changed that to probable cause and want to require some kind of expert testimony that there was something other than alcohol. But I agree with you, if there's not anything involving drugs, if it is strictly they think they're drinking and they're not, they probably ought to be released, but that's not the way the law reads right now.
And it does not happen, does it?
No, it does not, and all of you need to know that there ain't no midnight release when you get arrested now. You stay in the jail until the next day, whatever time the bond hearing is for court. So you are arrested and you spend the night in jail, yes.
Even if you cooperate, blow a 0.0, and then let's say this officer who's trying to make a quota then decides, well, I'm going to ask you to take a blood draw.
Right.
And I believe because your eyes are yellow, now he ain't never met you before in his life, but because your eyes are yellow, and maybe you talk with a southern drawl like somebody in here, I think you ought to go and take a blood test. And you go, I'm not doing that. You never told me I was on drugs. You just arrested me for DUI. You thought I'd been drinking.
Hold on a second. I hate to make this announcement, but Mr. Robbins, your time is up on the amendment. Mr. Rutherford was just getting wound up. Mr. Robbins, your 20 minutes is up on the amendment. Mr. Bamberg, I think you want to speak on the amendment. You're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We have to do something to curb DUI fatalities and injuries in this state. I think there's been a lot of work that has been done in the arena of DUIs, obviously, as we heard about from the Senate side and the House Judiciary Committee. One thing that I did want to bring to the body and the public's attention is a little bit more about the blood draw aspect. Now, you know, under current law, as it is now, when they offer you the breathalyzer, you either do it, and if you don't, which you have the right to say no, it triggers that automatic license suspension. But I think it's important for us to note, and we have a very difficult job to do because we have to balance the real life pain experienced by families who have been harmed or lost loved ones or children, wives, husbands, 2 DUIs in this state, with government and the constitutional burdens that we have as a state to protect certain liberties that citizens have. Blowing into a breathalyzer, for those who don't know, is, and I don't do criminal work, I'm just speaking as to the constitutional aspects of the bill. You're just blowing air out of your body through this machine, okay? One concern that I do have is the blood draw tweak, okay? Now, it got better because we got rid of the roadside blood draws and stuff like that. But in a situation where driving is a privilege, so our state, the government, has told its citizens, we will afford you the privilege to drive provided certain things, right? Points on a license, etc. I think we are getting very close, if not borderline crossing, the line of government doing a little too much intrusion into a free citizen's body. And what I mean by that is, even though driving is a privilege, in the event, even if you blow, and this is part of the problem, even if a citizen blows and they blow a 0-0, that does not alleviate them of the problem of part 2, right? If you refuse to blow, then it's going to go to part 2. But even if you do blow and you blow a 0-0.
Excuse me, Mr. Bamberg, time has expired in the uncontested calendar. Mr. Robbie Robbins, that moves that we recur to the morning hour. All in favor say aye. All opposed no, and the ayes have it. We recur to the morning hour. We have a couple of things to read, Mr. Bamberg. If you'll just step aside, we'll get back to you in just a minute. Clerk will read.
Committee reports. Invitations committee reports favorable. Mr. Senator Saab, 1125 Williamsburg County Road.
Committee report. Okay, we're now back on the calendar. Okay, we're back on the calendar. We're on page 7. Clerk will read on page 7. On page 7, 851.
851 on page 7.
Mr. Brandon Newton moves to adjourn debate until Tuesday. All in favor, May the 5th. All in favor say aye. All opposed no, and the ayes have it.
Tuesday.
Clerk will read.
196 Cromer LCI.
Mr. Brandon Newton moves we adjourn debate until Tuesday, May 5th. All in favor say aye. All opposed no, and the ayes have it. Clerk will read.
Brandon Tuesday. Senator Gamble 697.
Mr. Brandon Newton moves to adjourn debate on Senate 697 till Tuesday, May the 5th. All in favor say aye. All opposed no, and the ayes have it.
Same. Senate 325 Massey LCI favorable.
Mr. Newton moves to adjourn debate on Senate 325 until Tuesday, May the 5th. All in favor say aye. All opposed no, and the ayes have it. Clerk will read.
163 Verdon Lieber.
Mr. Newton moves to adjourn debate on Senate 163 until Tuesday, May the 5th. All in favor say aye. All opposed no, and the ayes have it. Clerk will read.
853 Davis Ways and Means.
Mr. Brandon Newton moves to adjourn debate on Senate 853 until Tuesday, May the 5th. All in favor say aye. All opposed no, and the ayes have it. Clerk will read.
Senate 439 Peeler Ways and Means.
Mr. Brandon Newton again moves to adjourn debate until Tuesday, May the 5th. All in favor say aye. All opposed no, and the ayes have it. Clerk will read.
Senate 863 Grooms Ways and Means.
Mr. Brandon Newton once again moves to adjourn debate on Senate 863 until Tuesday, May the 5th. All in favor say aye. All opposed no, and the ayes have it. The debate is adjourned. We're now back on Senate 52. Senate 52. Mr. Bamberg is recognized to speak for his second speech on amendment number 2. You're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So even if you blow a 0-0, it could go to phase 2. And the problem I have, and I'm struggling with as an attorney and someone who is very big on the constitutional right aspect, we're in a conundrum whereby as government officials, we have a vested interest in protecting the lives of innocent people on our roads. And we all have constituents that have been personally impacted by these terrible ordeals. And on the other hand, we have a citizen's interest in certain constitutional rights like innocent until proven guilty, and the right to be secure in their person from unreasonable searches and or seizures by the government. In the part of this bill that speaks to the blood draws, it says you have the right to say no. So we're not going to make you do it. It's not mandatory. Right? You have the right to say no. However, if you tell the government no, the government is going to take away a privilege that we've given you. And that is where I do have a legal struggle here, because there's a big difference between a citizen blowing air out of their body and the government effectively holding a privilege that's bestowed on you hostage, and you have to either lose that privilege or allow the government to invade the sanctity of your body, which in part I think could contravene the U.S. Constitution and the South Carolina Constitution of a citizen to be free from unreasonable searches and seizures by the government of their person. Now, there is a part after that where it says if you do the interlock, well, then you can go through the process and you can get your license back. And that is a good thing in this bill. However, it doesn't address the key problem. And I don't know what the answer is. I would foresee that this is going to lead to some appellate cases in this state, and I think that it may lead to some Fourth Circuit Court of Appeals cases on that particular issue. What happens when a citizen blows a 0-0 and then an officer says, I understand you blew a 0-0, but I still think XYZ, and now they say, we want the blood test, and the citizen who has nothing in their system, but who just doesn't want to let the government force